Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I switched over to phone. Great to be here today. My name is Brandon. I'm currently a software engineer full stack. I'll be doing your interviews here today. I want to start off with a few questions that just help me determine what to ask here and how to grade. How much experience do you have?
I have 3 to 4 years of experience. Technically, like
Okay.
1 year, 2 years experience in India, in my home country, and 1.5 years here in US.
Okay, so are you going for like mid-level positions or senior?
Yeah, mid-level, SD2.
Mid-level? Okay. And then are there any specific companies that you're targeting?
Yeah, mostly FAANG, Amazon. Yeah, for now.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, no, that helps a lot. So in the top right corner of the screen, you'll see a drop down to select your preferred language. So you can go ahead and select that.
Yeah.
Cool. And then let me just grab. You said Amazon?
Yeah.
Okay, I actually just interviewed there, so I can give you the question I got.
Okay.
Let me find it.
Yeah, you did for mid-level or the senior level?
Yeah, what'd you say?
You did the interview for mid-level or senior level position?
Yeah, I just interviewed as SDE2 there actually. So I can give you this. So this is definitely on the harder side of things. If this one you think is just too tough to do right now, just let me know and we'll ask another one. I want to use your time the best. So let's see, here's what we have. Let me think of how to.
Okay.
Grab some examples here.
Okay, this is I found the two people in the departure and arrival airports on time. To reconstruct itinerary on return. All of the tickets belong from Miami to departure. Okay. Itinerary must begin with JFK. Okay, we have to reconstruct itinerary and should begin from JFK. There are multiple valid tests. You should return the itinerary of the smallest lexical order when read as a single string. Okay. For example, itinerary is this one has to drop this one, and that makes sense. Okay. Okay, you may assume all the tickets from at least one valid itinerary. You must use all the tickets once and only once. Okay. So our input is given like this one. It's a sort of bunch of starting and ending stops. And starting stop is basically JFK, what it says in the question. We need to return an itinerary, basically. Okay. Makes sense. Okay, so this is sort of, okay, we are given multiple stops. So, like the first glance of it gives me that it's a sort of graph data structure, which is probably hinting me towards doing some search on the input. So what search is like, what I'm going to do is, what's like that's my first thought is what it is saying. It's given a bunch of start and end stops, and JFK is my starting stop, and I need to sort of. So is there an ending stop in this? So like it's given that JFK is my starting stop. So itinerary means it has to visit all the places.
Yeah, so it should visit all the places in there, and there will be at least one valid option. So you're going to use all the inputs. So you can see the first one, there is 4. So your output array should be size of however many tuples were in the input plus 1. So like here you can see for line 36, we have 4 input pairs. So we're going to have our output is going to have 5. Oh.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually I just also dialed in from home. I don't know, there was some internet issues on my side as well. So
Okay, yeah, it's a little easier. So yeah, you were talking about kind of you don't know the start and end. That's kind of what you're figuring out. We can see here the input here, the first one on line 36. We have 4 pairs, so we know our output's going to have 5 numbers or 5 members.
Correct. So what I'm trying to think about is like I have a starting point JFK. What I'm going to do is basically I just need to find the path from one starting point, and I don't know the ending point, but the ending point is going to be which covers all the stops. Now here what I think is let's create a map of the input and take my starting point as JFK and try to find the next stop now, which is MUC. Now from MUC, I'm going to find the next stop, which is LHR. Like obviously the map will give me that input. From LHR, I'll see what's the next stop, SFO, and from SFO, it gives me the next stop is San Jose. Now so it's a sort of, what I'm thinking is doing the DFS on the input and then backtrack from locations which I've already visited, or probably I'm at the back of the same airport. Basically, I need to find a path which is a valid path covering all the stops. There can be multiple paths. What it is saying is you have to return the one which has the smallest lexical order. I think that's
exactly, yeah, the lexical order. Yeah, so that's going to be kind of the tricky part here.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about, because the mapping is single, and like obviously there can be multiple paths. You store one path, then if you go to the other path, you see whether you have already smaller path there. Yeah, I'm just trying to think how can I do that. Just give me some time. So okay, that's the first example. If I take the second input, what it is saying is, if input is starting point is JFK, so if you see there's multiple flights from JFK. One is to SFO, one is to Atlanta. Now if I go to the SFO route, but I need to take the Atlanta route because SA is smaller in lexical order than SFO, so I believe I can take that. Like that's what I'm thinking right now. I'm not sure if that's the valid answer. So JFK to Atlanta, then Atlanta to SFO, or SFO, but from SFO I can't. Then in the second it says there are multiple stops. So I'm just trying to understand the end goal, whether we need to airports multiple times as well.
Yeah, you could visit an airport multiple times. So like here you kind of have these loops between JFK, SFO, and Atlanta. But you can go to the same place twice. You just don't want to use the same pair twice, if that makes sense.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
So if you can keep track of like visited somehow there according to the pair, because you could have like you could have 2 pairs that are in there twice. If you were to do like a full circular rotation.
Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, just trying to think how to solve that problem, because I know that it's a like normal DFS plus backtracking problem, but I'm trying to gauge into that. How can I solve this multiple stops, and how to stop my backtracking, where and how. So if I stop JFK Atlanta, it goes to achieve back. Now the main question is how do I calculate the time according to the okay. What that routes I don't touch. So basically what I'm thinking is like that's my way of thinking. So what's happening is I'm gonna create a map of like this is a graph data structure. Now if you take the second input, I'm gonna start a DFS from the JFK as a string, like that's the airport, and try to find the next stops for that. Now the next stop for JFK in the second input is Atlanta and SFO. I'm going to pick Atlanta first because that's less. It's smaller in geographical order. Go to Atlanta, and the next stop from Atlanta are JFK and SFO from there as well. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to keep the routes that have already been traversed. It means JFK to Atlanta has been traversed, so I'm going to keep a string JFK dash Atlanta to JFK dash Atlanta to probably marked as done. So I'm not going to take that route again. Now,
okay.
Yeah, because that's, can we take the routes again, or it's just once? That's what I think it's once.
You can only use each pair once, but you could have like 2 duplicate pairs in there.
Correct. Okay, okay, I can have 2 duplicate pairs. So basically, I need to store the counts as well for that. So, okay, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I guess that could work. Or you could just mark each one visited as you kind of go. Just whatever you think will work to handle that.
Correct. Yeah. So I think I can do that. So probably count, marking each one as visited as maybe taking an index value or something like that can be helpful. So I believe what I'm going to do is just create a map first for this, which is going to be graph data structure, which I'm going to use that graph data structure to do the DFS on that particular data structure. And then once, while doing DFS, I'm going to find a route and backtrack from all the paths which are not viable paths. And in the end, once my DFS finishes or all the things are exhausted, then I'm going to return my output. Like that's what I'm thinking to go with this problem.
I think at a high level, yeah, that sounds pretty good if you want to start implementing.
Yeah, sure. So this is my class solution. Let me take another function, which is basically is returning. I see that input, the output is a list of strings, so that's going to be a list of strings. Create IT. Just sorry for spelling of anything that's wrong. Okay, create itinerary. I'm just going to do that, and what it's taking is basically it's taking a list of string. These are basically flights, and this is kind of that's the input and formula 2 length. Okay, that's a constant thing. Okay, now what I'm going to do is let's create the first thing is the result, which I'm going to return as final. I'm going to just make this that the error goes into list. Now return result. Now here I'm going to do my all code part. So I think let's fix this issue. So I'm going to create a map basically, which will have a string and a list, like from starting that source position to a multiple position. So that's going to be named as my graph data structure, new hash map. Now I'm going to iterate over my string input and probably create. I'm just trying to think how can I keep count. Just give me 1 second. So I have a list of string and list one, and I iterate over to DFS over that. How will that map be traversed?
Sorry, if you hear me typing, I'm just taking notes here for feedback. But yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think how can I keep that count thing. I need to just keep that. If there are multiple pairs like JFK to SFO or multiple times, I'm just trying to think, should I keep the count or how do I do that? Because this is, or I can do, I think this. So once you have this, map a string to, so like this. So this will give you basically that how much time it occurred in that particular thing. So now I'm going to iterate over my string, the input. So that's going to be my list of string. Iterate over flights. So this basically is a list of strings like this thing, MC, ME, MEC, etc. So it's going to check if my graph dot contains that particular thing, then obviously it's gonna get that contains key basically. It's gonna get that entry. Entry is equal to graph dot get zero. Okay, this is let me Yeah, and now I have that entry. Now I'm going to do is entry dot put entry dot get while it's going to be entry dot get dot values. Once again, it's going to be okay. Just give me 1 second. Okay, it has this map. Now entry dot get the other one, list dot get one. Basically, that's the second route of that. Now, so now if it has occurred second time, I will do val plus plus. Val plus equals 1 basically, and just put it back there. So list dot get 1 comma val, and then it's gonna be graph dot put. Technically, it's gonna update that entry only because it's a reference there. So now,
Okay.
if the key doesn't exist, so you can just create a new key basically. So what I'm going to do is just graph dot put list dot get 0 new hash map. And what you do is you create an instance of a hash map, basically string integer map route. That's new route. I think I don't need this. Let's do this directly so that I can just put it directly. Output list dot get 1 dot 1 and graph dot put list dot get 0 slash my map route. Okay, this is done. This will basically create a graph. Now I process the input. Now what I'm going to do is start the DFS. I'm going to write another function which is going to be a DFS and just create that particular route. So what I'm going to do is do a DFS which is going to take input. Input is going to be this graph basically. So that's going to be this graph. And I'm just trying to think it has a result as well because it's going to input into like probably the result with whatever it is. So
That makes sense.
okay, I'm going to correct this later. So this is my graph and then this is my list of integer, which is the result.
I think that's string, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right. Correct. That should be string. Correct. Yeah. So now, this also needs to take sort of the source string, basically JFK. So that's sort of the start string, which is takes. So I know everything needs to start from JFK, so I'm going to just directly pass it like this. Now, what it's going to do is get all the mappings of JFK and try to find out the one. So I think one thing I can do here is if I use this as a tree map, all this the key entries will be lexicographically sorted. So basically,
Oh, I see. Yep, that makes sense. Okay.
yeah. So yeah, I'm just trying to make it more easy because what it will do is basically just make it. So this is going to be tree map, yeah. And what it's this is causing issues. Why? Graph report, okay, map route is tree map only. One second. that's this. Everything is correct. Why this is? I'll check this out later. So let's start with this. So we have tree map already. Now what I'm going to do is so this is my start thing. So I'm just trying to understand now what's going to be my ending point here. So ending point, it means when I should stop the DFS and return the result. So technically,
so once you have everything out of that array or everything visited, then you know, because you say we can assume you have at least one valid path.
Correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete entries from map side by side. So once my map is empty, I know that it's fine. So what I'm going to do is result.add start. So that's going to be my starting point. Now if that's going to be sort of ending point. Now if see that graph dot is empty, so I think this gives you that if hash map is empty, then basically you return the result. Not return the result, basically just return, because the result is automatically added, so it's gonna populate it from the function as well. So if graph dot is empty, it's gonna return from there directly. I'm just trying to think now. What I'm gonna do is now the next start is get all the entries for the graph dot get start. Graph dot get start. So this will give me all the routes from GFK, basically the first map routes. Now obviously this is already a solid order which I've given. I need to iterate over this particular route. So iterate over this map.entry, which is going to be string comma integer. Entry is in map routes dot entry set. And this entry, now I need to call this DFS function back again with all these entries which are available. So what I'm going to do is call this DFS function again. Now, whenever I'm calling this DFS function again, I'm going to remove the entry part and add it back later. So from this map, which is map routes, basically, I'm gonna remove, basically just reduce that instance from that particular map. So technically, what I'm gonna do is interval is equal to entry.get value, yes, and if value is equal to 1, directly remove that because that's already gone. Map routes dot remove. What else? I need to remove the entry dot get key. Else there can be one issue, I believe, in this concurrent modification, I believe, or I'm not sure. So we are actually iterating of the map and I'm modifying the map as well correctly. So it can give concurrent modification. So what I'm doing is now you can just directly call the DFS function and you can put this value back after this. So technically you're just going to go graph result, and the next starting point is going to be my entry.getKey. That's the next route that you need to take. And what it does is basically puts that entry in the map back, I believe. Let me think about it.
Okay, yeah, I'm a little, I think I'm just not following, but yeah, let's see.
Yeah, so what I'm doing is basically just iterating over all the, so from GFK, these are from, let's say, from any point. Now this, I'm going to iterate over all these routes and pick the first one. So the first one is, it's a tree map, so it's already sorted. It's in lexicographical order. What it's going to do is, there can be multiple, SFO can be, there will be 2 flights from JFK to SFO, JFK to SFO, and so it's going to, if it's only one entry, it's going to just remove that from the map. So it's been used the current DFS call, and it's going to make that DFS call. Otherwise, it's going to just reduce that by 1, so that when it gets passed in the next DFS call, this graph is basically used there.
Okay. Yeah, I see. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a little tough, so I can do the visited as well, but it's gonna, I'm just trying to think if I can change it to visited, because now once this DFS call finishes, basically what we need to do is put that thing back to what it was, like restore the map, basically, because it needs to go to other parts as well. So just give me 1 second to think about that. So let's do this. So when it goes back, it's gonna put it into .get comma 1, and otherwise it's gonna do +1, basically. Cool. So this is how the backtracking will happen, and I think once we have exhausted, it means they're gonna be I'm just trying to think how that graph, where I'm deleting that graph thing. So basically I need to delete entries somehow. Just give me 2 minutes to think about it. But yeah, it's a sort of this code structure. Do you have any doubts in this? Like anything? I know there are still problems I'm trying to figure out, but
yeah, I think at a high level this looks good. Yeah, these are a little hard to follow, but I think that's fine. I think you have some errors up above, like is this just supposed to be tree map? Because it says your put can't, it's not applicable for those arguments.
map route. Yeah.
On line 41.
Because this is what I'm creating a tree map here, string integer, and now I create a tree map here. On line 43, I think it's giving issue because what it is doing is graph is a graph. It takes string to tree map. Yeah, that's true. So one thing I can do is basically maybe that can solve the issue, I believe, because I think usually in Java it doesn't come, but okay, now
it says, let's see, string.
1 second, what it says. Yeah, the value is a map. Then why it's the graph.put listed get 0 is the first one, and map route is the tree map, which I'm putting it back in. So why it's giving an issue? Let's do this thing again. I don't know. Like usually it takes this. Yeah, it solves now. But this never comes in Java. This ID is different. In normal ID, this because it takes an abstract class as well. So yeah, now that problem is solved. Yeah, so the class solution is this, and what we are doing is basically, I think, that's what it was. Okay, graph, solid, string start by. Oh, sorry, this should be, that's why it's going. Okay, yeah, now there are no errors in the code. Now what I'm going to do is resolve all the errors. Now just going to delete entry. Now the one thing that is left is, so what's happening is this condition where we're doing graph empty return. Now there is no way this code is deleting that entry from the graph. So it has to delete that entry from the graph. It means it has to see that when when all the routes from JFK have been exhausted, I need to remove that entry from the graph map, basically. Now, how do I check that? As when I think here, basically, when you see of a particular string, you see that if var is equal to 0 already, then okay, if val is equal to 0, I'm gonna do for that particular value it's 0. I'm gonna delete that entry. So basically, graph.remove graph.get start.remove, basically, which is entry.get key, and continue to the next iteration. So this should solve the problem. Every time we see that it has been now at one point of time, all the entries will be exhausted and it will return from here. Then result will have all the result and finally return the result there.
Okay. Yeah, this looks pretty good here. Do you want to write some driver code so we can see if this works?
Yeah, let me do that. So I'm gonna create a solution. Itinerary. So
you don't need to create a class. Whatever's just in main gets called here because you're already in solution.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I need to.
Yeah, so this main method will be called automatically.
No, I need to sort of. I'm just asking. I need to call that function in this main class only, because main will be called. You have to either you can make it static, but you have to create an object of this class solution. Object of this class solution will call this. So that's what I was doing. So I need sort of.
Okay. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. If it's not static, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna copy these two things. And it will take time to create inputs. So give me just 1 second. List of integer list is equal to, I think I can do that. Where is dot as list, and
I think. Did you mean to do strings, not integer?
what? Oh, sorry. I always do that mistake with the string.
It's all good.
Yeah. So let's just sort of decide usually. There are multiple ways to. 1 second. I just copy these things so that I can easily. Okay, so this one. Just copy. Just give me 2 seconds. I can directly copy. Just creating input sometimes usually. HR. Just copy these so that can put it for. Okay, now I have multiple paths, which is JFK to MUC, and then from SFO to LHR to SF4, and LHR to SF4. Okay, that's the fourth one direct. Okay, so now just do one thing. This one. Just copy this. Okay, now this is done. So let's create that. What I'm gonna do is call this function, which is gonna take this list and it's gonna return a list of string results, and I'm gonna just print that list. Okay, now looks good. It might give some error. It's called, let me take this into errors. Okay, so let's sort of try to run this. What it says, where it is, it's in 65. Right, it's empty. I'm going to just debug some things here.
Sure, yeah.
It says the input is sort of empty, and let's see what's the size of the graph. It's 4, so it means yeah, 4 values are there, but the problem it's going to be graph. Let's say the output. Okay. Yeah, all entries are there. It's one entry from GFK should be there, so it's working. There is no problem. There's a account exception is coming. When it calls line 66, where is this one? 66 calls night. So I think one thing we can do, so technically should automatically handle this, but anyways. Oh yeah, it's working. You see, sorry.
Oh.
So this is the route. So let's say GF, what's the output? GF, MUC, LHR, SFO. Yeah, this is the final output. So this is the output.
Okay. Yeah, no, that looks good. And then, yeah, I think by using the tree map, you're handling the lexical order.
Yeah.
So that should make sense.
Yeah, let me try the second. Let me do for the second input. Let me copy this here and try also. Yeah. So let's say, so it's I'm gonna just take 2 minutes. GFK, SFO, GFK to ATL, SFO to ATL, SFO to ATL, and one is ATL to GFK, TL to GFK. Need another one basically here, which is gonna be the list 5, and so that's gonna be the ATL to SFO basically. ATL,
yeah.
Now with this, so yeah, that's done. So that's the second input. Now let's run. I'm gonna reset this. Run. Okay, so what's the issue is so it's given at 63. Oh, okay. Dot, I think it needs to do this int value basically. It's taking the integer only. But yeah, I think there is a Java thing, primitive versus non-primitive. So I'm just trying to understand what's the issue here. It's null in 60.
So yeah, somehow you're getting null in the map when you try to get it here, it looks like. But which one is null? Is it the inner or the outer?
So, basically what I can do is if so that it's just a check I'm putting it. If only it contains, then only basically you do it. Okay. So let's try to run this. So it's just handing null check. Okay. So this is the output. I think it's not correct. GFK SFO, ATL, and GFK. Yeah. So I think. So what the problem is with the code, I believe, is that that count thing which I'm putting, it's not getting enacted in the code. So there has to be something. So it is just getting values one time and it stops at GFK. Why it is stopping at GFK? It finds the graph is empty. Why? I'm just trying to understand that.
Yeah. Let's see.
So it's okay. I think okay, you get this graph. It contains get 0, you get to get 0, 1. Then
I think the issue here is that you have multiple JFKs, whereas the first one you didn't.
Yeah. I'm just checking this when I'm putting these values here, so whether that is happening or not. So, okay, so now I think I got it, what's the issue is. So basically you have to do graph.put list.get0 / entry. One second. Oh, I think this should give that because it was not updating the map. Either it's a reference, it should get updated, but I'm not sure why. Because it's string, okay, this is the issue, okay. It gets the value, updated, this that value and puts that back. So technically it should be the one thing is that I think that the only problem with the code is I believe I think the map is not taking care of the count thing where multiple GFKs or SFOs are there. So I believe that's going to be a problem where we are constructing the graph. But I don't find any problem here. I'm just
I'm not sure exactly where it is either, but I see something with those multiple lists there.
Correct, yeah. So technically, because once I solve that count problem, I think it should work because so right now it's working. It's only technically just giving that one value. So I think it's not going inside this. Let me see if it's going inside this or not. Because this is what it updates. it's going inside. So it's going twice inside. It means there are two values which are repeating. So GFK is repeating. GFK to SFO and SFO, and yeah. So GFK and ATL are two, which are the maps which are. Okay, correct. So this is working fine. It means it's going inside the code. This code is updating because it's printing this inside twice for JFK and ATL, which are repeating, the flights are repeating. And it gets this entry. It contains. It checks. Okay, I think I got it. What the issue is. Just give me 1 minute. I'll just solve the problem. One minute. 1 minute. So entry transport. No one. Got it. Because that's some mapping there. Okay. Now the issue is, well, 18, 93, 93. Yeah, I got it. So now that once I solve this problem, because I was not getting the entry, now it's giving. I assume that it will give this concurrent modification exception when multiple entries are there. So we are trying to modify. When you loop over a map, you can't modify the map. Basically, that's what I was doing. So I think by keeping a separate visited array or something, that will solve this problem technically.
So that's interesting that you can't modify. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. You see what I'm doing is for map entry. So this is in Java. Whenever you are iterating over, even if you are iterating over an array, you can only get values from that. You can't set. So that's why it's called concurrent modification exception. That you are iterating over the array and modifying that. So you create a copy and that's what you do it technically.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, in terms of, I think the time complexity for this is going to be what is for DFS order of, like technically what's order of vertices, but as you said, the edge is defined as this GFK to SFO is the edge, and the number of nodes are the vertices, like number of unique strings. So that's going to be that plus n. If I zoom n is that number and n is the number of edges. So time complexity is going to be that for a particular case. And regarding space complexity, obviously it's O(n), on the number of edges which are there.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense here. Yeah, this is a pretty good algorithm there. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we're pretty much at time there then. I'll give you some time back here. Is there anything, any questions that you wanted to ask me or anything?
Yeah, you said you got this question in Amazon, so were they expecting full solution or were you able to do it? How was it?
So the one I had was very, very similar, just I don't have the full prompt. But yeah, this, I did have to get a full solution, or I did at least, but you can't run your code in their IDE. So it was just kind of, I might have had a few errors there, you know, but they don't run it. So I think like what you had would have been fine. You had it at a very high level. It's more about the problem solving. Yeah, so I think that's fine.
Okay, cool.
Then there's another one if you want to look it up for after. It's called Trapping Rainwater. You'll find it on LeetCode. That was also one I was asked as well. There was a modification of that, but similar. Makes
sense. So that was like which team you gave for interview for?
I'm still finalizing things with offers, but I'll probably be joining AWS org Amplify. And I'm more of a front end position, but they still like to ask these questions for that.
Makes sense. Okay. Yeah. For I think they have 4 rounds for third round. Like for one of the rounds they ask low level design, I believe. I think I don't know.
Yeah,
how
exactly.
that.
Yeah, so you also do the system design too. For Amazon, I highly recommend just brushing up on the behaviorals as well. They really drill you on those leadership principles, so just make sure you have those fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, happy to help. I just did a Google, Amazon, Snapchat, like the whole loop. So happy to help there.
Yeah. I think I'm looking over that. I'm making stories right now, lighting for that as well.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. But yeah, so yeah, I'll leave you with that then. Yeah, anything else last minute or?
No, I think that's all. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for taking the interview.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks so much. And yeah, so you'll get some opportunity to leave feedback here. I appreciate whatever you have and have a good night.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
All right, bye.